Hey everybody, Derek here for the weekly news recap from the 19th maybe? Hang on. Nope, I was right the first time. 18th and the 24th of July 2022. So it's actually a pretty quiet one this week, at least for things I'm interested in, I guess. So we're just going to jump straight into the new releases. So the biggest new release that you've probably seen all over the internet for the last while is Stray, i.e. the cat game, or on the PS4 and 5 and so on, where you play a cat, you do cat things, and some things that cats don't normally do, but whatever, like talk to people, don't ask questions. We played a bit of this on Friday. We streamed it for a bit, so people jumped in, hanging out in chat. It was pretty popular, so unsurprisingly, internet is really like cats. Big shock there. If all the cat memes and cat videos didn't clue you in, people like cats. So Stray was a fun game. We didn't finish it on stream, but I finished it shortly after. It's not particularly long title, but it's a fun title and it's a chill time, and I'm currently working my way through it for the platinum. Despite it being a chill game, one of the trophies had me nearly just throwing my controller at the wall. There's a section in the stream. Actually, I won't spoil it for you since it's a fairly new game. But yes, there is at least one trophy that is incredibly frustrating to get, but otherwise it is a fun time. So that was Stray. Other games that came out and other games that we have played on the channel also. Live Alive, which is... Go full screen. Live Alive was a Japan-only JRPG, came out roughly around the same time as Chrono Trigger, and it never left Japan. It is, you play 8 different characters in 8 different timelines, and basically every character has their own sort of mini side quest kind of thing. Like this would typically be something you would see like a mini arc in like a JRPG normally, only they've basically split them all up into 8 different games. They all have their own play style, they all have their own setting, they all have their own stuff like that. Like the ninja guy is all about stealth. This little robot guy, it's kind of a sort of a horror game. There's the guy in the present day is in like a fighting tournament, and then once you've played through everybody's section, it eventually becomes a traditional JRPG where everybody teams up, party members, and you go fight God or something like that. Anyway, we played it on the stream a couple of weeks ago. It was a good time. The ninja section at least was fun. The round orb guy I think was a bit slow, and I probably wouldn't have chosen that for the demo personally. Anyway, moving on. So a game that hasn't appeared on the channel yet, but probably will pretty soon, because it is more than likely going to be the next Foley Plays for a bit. It'll be Foley Plays Severed Steel for a bit. So this is a first-person parkour gun thing. The kind of gist of the game here is that your character only has one hand. Their other arm is like a cannon, like Metroid style, which means they can't reload their gun. So they have one gun, and once it uses up the ammo, you got to throw it away and pick up a new gun, and then throw that away and pick up a new gun, and so on. So it is very quick. It's got a lot of like the Titanfall wall running, slow-mo, jumping over people kind of stuff. It just looks really fun, right? What I'm worried about is whether or not it's going to be kind of like Ghost Runner, where Ghost Runner has something very similar. It's very, very fun, but it's also so fucking hard. Is it going to be the Hotline Miami thing of the trailer makes it look like you're really good, but if you get hit like once, you're dead kind of thing? I guess we'll see. I think there's a demo for this on Xbox and Steam. I'm not sure about PlayStation and eShop, and for whatever reason this trailer is not in HD. I don't know why, but it's not. It refuses to go into HD. And we have a game that I really like the look of and the presentation of, but I'm probably never going to play it. This is Endling, Extinction is Forever. So you are playing a mother fox who is trying to navigate this sort of climate apocalypse landscape with her fox cubs. You're trying to get from like this place of kind of danger and squalor and lack of food and whatever. You're traveling across this landscape to get to a safe place with your cubs. The reason I'll probably never play the game is your cubs can die. So I'm pretty much like, nope, not playing this. I don't want that kind of responsibility. You can see that Human beings can attack them, they can capture them. Some of the owls and like other birds of prey and stuff can prey on the foxes, and they can just randomly get lost as well. Some other kind of interesting gameplay aspects is the different fox cubs have their own different skills. Like one of them is like stealthier, one of them is like kind of smart, one of them I think is like really bouncy, so like they have like not a double jump exactly, but I think they can jump higher than most of them and that kind of thing. Like I think losing a cub would probably be a bad thing because you wouldn't be able to do or maybe go to different areas or something without them. I'm not sure. Like, feel free to spoil me and tell me that no, you actually can't lose a cub. Feel free to tell me that they don't die, and that's fine. Then I will play the game. Otherwise, I'm not touching it. I will just watch LPs where they save the cubs every time. And then a game that looked really interesting. It looked really cool, and I was really hyped to play it until I was told that it's like an hour long. Like it's very, very short, and it is basically a demo, and I can't really spend that much money on something that, doesn't feel like you're getting the most money out of it. But anyway, this is Bright Memory Infinite. So this is, I think, is like a remaster, or not a remaster, but like a gold edition of a PC game that came out a while ago, and it is kind of like a tech demo. What the very impressive part is that, visually, it looks amazing, and the combat is like very fast, very fluid. There's quick swapping between guns and your sword, and it's also developed by a single person. That is all extremely impressive, but it's only like an hour to 2 hours long. It is not great. No, it's not amazing. It's not like your game has to be X number of hours, but 2 hours is a bit short for the kind of game it looks like. Plus, it's like €20, so I think the price has to come down to like a tenner, maybe then I'll think about it, or maybe just get it added to like a Game Pass or a PlayStation Plus type thing. But anyway, those were the new releases for this week, so we will move right along to industry bullshit. So last week, John Riccitiello of Unity, formerly of EA, said game developers were fucking idiots for not prioritizing monetization, and everybody was pissed off about it. Like everybody. He somehow managed to piss off the entire internet about that. But anyway, John Riccitiello called game developers who don't think about monetization early fucking idiots. After previously calling stories about the rogue comment clickbait, he's now offered a more thorough note-style screenshot apology, saying, "I am sorry, I am listening and I will do better," wrote one of the highest paid bosses in gaming, according to Kotaku, which is a nice burn from Ethan Gach. Anyway, he called it clickbait. Initially, it was out of full context. I'm deeply sorry if I offended anybody, etc. The thing is, it's not. Like, it wasn't out of context. It was very much in context. The context was, we have just bought a company that is focusing on monetization. We are trying to get our developers to look more at monetization. And then call people who don't do it idiots. Fucking idiots. The context was clear. It was not taken out of context. We know what you meant. We know what you meant, John. A host of independent developers spent last week publicly criticizing Unity while the company's employees fumed internally about recent layoffs. "Oh my fucking god, my timeline is full of devs trying to move from Unity to other alternatives. This is a Chernobyl-level meltdown," one of the Unity devs tweeted. Do something to Riccitiello. And he did. He gave an apology that's not an apology, as usual. He tried to distinguish between developers who make art for art's sake versus those who want to make a living off of game and in-game item sales. Fuck off, John. Games are either art or they're not. Pick one. They can't be both. And we clearly know what he wants. And then this article kind of highlights something I was trying to highlight last week, which is that, he's probably not the best person to have in charge of video games and so on. And I guess there's a reason I'm not a journalist, but whatever. Prior to joining Unity, Riccitiello was CEO of EA from 2000 to 2013. In that time, the publisher released Mass Effect 3, which is roundly criticized for its monetization methods, forced multiplayer, day one DLC, and so on, and its loot crates. It did have loot boxes. This was also the first time EA was awarded Worst Company in America by the Consumerist. It won the award again the next year after Dead Space 3's microtransactions and, again, forced multiplayer bullshit came in. Subsequently, Riccitiello resigned the next year. or the next March rather. So yeah, maybe don't take his ideas about where video games should be going. Alright, cool. Speaking of companies, or speaking of EA rather, FIFA 23 on Nintendo Switch is once again a Legacy Edition. So what does that mean? A Legacy Edition for the FIFA games means they've made no actual changes to the game. They just changed the number and some of the players, and that's about it. Which is just something I'd said anyway about FIFA in general, but no, this time it really was. That is all they did. Gameplay features and modes will have parity with FIFA 22 on Nintendo Switch and will feature the same gameplay from FIFA 22 Legacy Edition without any new development or significant enhancements. Now remember, FIFA 22 Legacy Edition was also a Legacy Edition of FIFA 21, which was a Legacy Edition of FIFA 2020, which was a Legacy Edition of, and so on. So have they changed anything on the Switch FIFA ever? Like since the new gen? Have they changed anything? Has it just been the same game? Like the usual barb thrown at FIFA games, which is it's literally the same thing all the time. All you're doing is paying for the number and some kit changes, and not really that is all you're doing on the Nintendo Switch thing. So yeah, that's FIFA charging full price for a game that is actually the exact same game from last year, which was the exact same game the year before, which was and so on. They're just adding a number. It's the line from the well-known quote from the well-known Tron sequel. I'll never bring that up, but it's like, what new benefits are we, giving our customers this time around? And it was like, this time we put a 2 on it. It's like, that's it. That's all they did. They changed it. I am paraphrasing that quote, by the way. I don't remember the exact quote, but that was basically it. Anyway, speaking of shitty companies being shit, Blizzard Albany announces union bid, forms Albany Game Workers Alliance, asks Activision to recognize it voluntarily. They didn't do it for the last union, probably not going to happen this time. Quality assurance testers of Blizzard Albany, formerly Vicarious Visions, these are the people who did the Crash Revival and the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Revival, who were then pretty much absorbed into Call of Duty, have filed for a union representation election with the National Labour Relations Board. So this is the same as the Raven Software people. They're doing pretty much the same thing Raven Software did, Raven Software's QA team. As the Albany Game Workers Alliance, the workers have requested Activision Blizzard voluntarily recognize their union. They're not going to. They will have to be forced. They are now the second group of workers under Activision Blizzard to formally request representation. The Albany Game Workers Alliance seeks to secure fair compensation, improve benefits, addressing title disparities, and protocols surrounding periods of crunch. The title disparities thing is that a QA person from one company and a QA person from another company who similarly have the same title aren't being paid the same amount. Kind of an issue there. So this is from an associate test analyst, Amanda Levin. There's issues in the video game industry that often go unnoticed because our work is seen as more of a passion instead of a job. Again, this is how they get people to crunch. This is how they abuse people's passion for making art, being creative, and using that to force them into terrible working conditions. Quality assurance workers deserve fair treatment and proper compensation for the work we do, which is why we chose to form a union. Building the Albany Game Workers Alliance with the CWA, with my fellow co-workers, will create a mechanism that allows us to make our voices heard. We know that by having a seat at the table, our union will not only give us structure and power, but also give us a path forward to improve our workplace, because management won't be able to ignore us all anymore. Citation needed on that. I think they will still ignore you because, and this was thrown in at the bottom by Andrea Sheeran for Fanbyte, it's been a year since the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing lawsuit that was levied at Activision Blizzard for their frat boy culture thing. Like, it's been an entire year. What has changed? Nothing. Nothing has changed. They still maintain they've done nothing wrong. They disagree with all of the complaints coming up. Bobby kept his job. He was even given his old pay back when he said, I will definitely fix the things that aren't problems, because we don't agree that they're problems, but I will fix them, the things that aren't problems. I'll fix them. Pay me more. And they did. And there's still not an employee representative on the board. So yeah, I'm all for them unionizing. I just hope it works out the way they want it to, but it sure seems like Activision aren't going to voluntarily recognize it. They didn't voluntarily recognize Raven Software's QA department, I don't see it changing here for Blizzard Albany. Nothing will really change until Bobby's gone. Speaking of formerly Activision companies, Bungie sues a Destiny 2 player following online harassment. So this is Bungie no longer just being content with banning people. They're like, no, fuck you. See actual criminal consequences for what you've done. Bungie has filed a lawsuit against a Destiny 2 player, accusing them of cheating and harassing the game's developers. This player regularly streamed the game using cheats. Bungie repeatedly have banned them. They then created 13 separate accounts in attempts to evade bans. They've sent threatening messages from their Twitter account about their desire to burn down Bungie's offices and declaring certain Bungie employees were not safe as he intended to move to their neighborhood. Wow, okay, the cheating's still fine, you'll just get banned, but actual threats of bodily harm to other human beings, that's paddling. That's gonna get you paddling. As Bungie has demonstrated repeatedly, it will not allow its game, its community, or its employees to be abused, defrauded, or threatened. This person has done all three, and this action is the consequence. It would be a vast understatement to merely describe them as a serial ban evader and cheater. They are much worse than that. They then tweeted an image of the community manager's employee badge, responded that they'd be moving to a place 30 minutes away from them, and then replied, they will not be safe. Bungie is seeking considerable damages for each instance of copyright infringement and use of cheating software, and also I'm not sure what they're going to do about the harassment and, threats of bodily harm kind of stuff. That's more of like a criminal thing, so I don't think you can sue for a criminal thing. Something for the police to do, I guess. But anyway, yeah, they're not taking it lightly. Let's put it that way. And you know what? Good for them. Good for them. Hopefully something actually comes from this and there are real consequences for being an online piece of shit. That would be great. Never mind the cheating. Like, that's not great in and of itself, and you can only do so much with banning. That should really be like a platform ban at that point, but it's too easy to circumvent them. That's more of a internet protocol kind of thing. You'd have to go fairly deep in how the internet works to be able to make an effective ban on something like that, rather than just making a new email and away they go, they get in again. Anyway, Bungie recently acquired by PlayStation, so speaking of PlayStation, I really had to work for that segue. Anyway, a PlayStation Store anti-competitive lawsuit has been thrown out of court. So this was a bunch of players. The suit alleged that due to the fact that Sony only sells digital copies of PlayStation games on the PlayStation Store, it had unlawfully monopolized the market. Now, his lawsuit was thrown out mostly on a technicality in that this is technically not a monopoly, it's an exclusivity, which is different. It would only be a monopoly if they had somehow muscled their way in on another company that was doing PlayStation games, digital PlayStation games, and had shut them down and had blocked them from returning to the market and is blocking anyone else from returning to the market and so on. They're not doing that. It's just an exclusivity thing, which isn't great in and of itself. There should be other ways to purchase digital games for PlayStation, for Xbox, for Nintendo outside of their own stores. There should be a way, because that would drive competition, drives prices down, and so on. Because there's no real excuse for a digital game to be the same amount as a physical retail copy. But whatever. Point is, it was thrown out. They were unable to adequately prove that Sony violated the Sherman Act, which is the anti-competitive, antitrust act in America. Plaintiffs had to show that the decision to only sell games on the PlayStation Store was intended to cut off the competition, and that it had ended a profitable business to take control of the market. So there is no competition for PlayStation games. You can only get them through Sony. So there is no competition that they were cutting off there. And had ended a profitable business to take control of the market. There was no profitable business selling PlayStation games because they're the only ones doing it. So it doesn't violate the Sherman Act, which means it's not antitrust, which means it's not a monopoly. You could argue that, it's a siloing and an exclusivity thing in the same way that the Google Play Store for Android apps is, that the iOS Store is for iOS apps, and so on. But it's technically not antitrust. It doesn't technically violate the act. It's an exclusivity really sure the word. I can only think of like it's an exclusivity thing. They're the only people selling it. You could argue that they should open it up for more people to be able to sell it, but it's not the same thing. Continuing with PlayStation. PlayStation is discontinuing. I could have made a better segue there with continuing and discontinuing. Anyway, PlayStation is discontinuing one-to-one customer support on Twitter, which is kind of shit, because it's pretty much their only customer service avenue that actually works. Their other ones are terrible. Now, not that the Twitter one was good. It wasn't really. It was much better than their other online support. Beginning in August, next month, Ask PlayStation Twitter accounts serving the Americas, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, so basically everywhere except Asia, will cease to offer support to individual customers. So previously you were able to tweet at the Ask PlayStation Twitter account for like customer help, like my PlayStation's not turning on, my controller is faulty, HDMI isn't working for some reason, anything like that, and they would respond. And they were pretty good at responding. And try to help you through and point you to the different things you could do, so on like that. They weren't particularly great at getting your account back. That was always something that was levied at them pretty often. PlayStation are not great at account recovery. They're pretty bad. They're probably the worst ones for it. Can't say who would be the best necessarily. They're all pretty bad, but PlayStation are particularly bad about it. But anyway, that's gone now. Starting August 1st, one-to-one PlayStation support via Twitter will no longer be available. They're instead going to push you towards their website, their how-to YouTube videos and stuff like that, which is kind of shit. So some people had some things to say about it. So it's a terrible solution. Setting up barriers between you and your customers isn't the way to go. This is a regression in customer support rather than an improvement. And then other people saying, it was always shit anyway, so goodbye, good riddance and so on. I personally think it's a bad move, because they have helped me in the past. So, yeah, I don't really want to just be going through their FAQ, confirming that there's no answer to it in the FAQ, sending off an email ticket and being ignored. This is not a good thing. Anyway, it's a short news video today, but we're going to finish off with some dumb stuff. So Steam horror game challenges you to beat it quick enough to refund it. So the game is called Refund Me If You Can. It is very much a budget asset flip kind of thing, but basically you have 2 hours to avoid this monster thing and navigate your way through a maze. And if you can do it, then you can refund the game legit. If you don't, then you can still refund the game, but you're a coward, according to the game's developer. I think it's a funny sort of way to highlight Steam's refund policy, which isn't amazing. It's a bit too blanket. So the refund policy, if you're not aware, is you need to have played less than 2 hours of the game, and it has to have been within 14 days of you purchasing it. In that case, you can refund it for the full price that you paid. The issue there is that the developer gets fined, I think, by Steam, or Steam recoups some of the loss, I think, so they don't get their money. They don't get all of that money. And the issue is that that's fine for like big games, games that take more than 2 hours to finish, but games that don't take 2 hours to finish, like more bespoke walkie-talkie simulators, more budget titles and stuff like that, it's very easy to like finish the game quickly or just rent the game. It does end up feeling like a rental service, in that you bought the game, played it for a bit, didn't like it, returned it, right? That's fine. That's the way it should be done. If it's a case of, I bought the game, I'm going to play it for a bit and return it, and then wait a bit and then buy it again and return it, and just gradually make my way through the game. If you can do it that way, just managing to keep your save, that's a bit of a ridiculous way to go about it, but I guess. I don't know if you can do a repeat refund. Like if you bought the game, refunded it, and then came back 2 years later, bought it again, and then tried to refund it, would they be like, what the fuck's going on here? Why'd you buy the game twice if you didn't like it? I don't know. If the game is shorter than 2 hours, now you could potentially argue the game probably shouldn't be shorter than 2 hours, but some games are. Stanley Parable is shorter than 2 hours. You could easily beat that in under 2 hours. and that is a very, very good game. There's a lot of work gone into it. You know, it's an excellent product. It should be something you should be able to refund. So there's a question that like the refund policy should maybe be set by the developer, but then you'll have people like, you know, EA, Activision, Ubisoft, and so on will set the refund policy as something ridiculous. So you can't really do it that way. And then the question then would be, do you have somebody curated so that the game, you know, they have to do it per game? Is a game that's very short, do you make the refund window really small? You know, if the game is enormous, do you make the refund ability really wide? You know, there isn't going to be a one size fits all situation here, but there kind of has to be for legal policy. So it's not great, but it is good that there is a refund option, but it is abuse. I think it's probably more a case that you should address the abuse of it rather than trying to finesse around with it. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what the solution is to being able to refund a digital product. So, is there one? Probably not. But anyway, moving on. Lego reveals even bigger Bowser. So there's already a Bowser Lego thing. And then for San Diego Comic-Con, Lego and Mario have teamed up, or I'd say this is mostly Lego's work, but whatever, have made a like 14-foot Bowser. So remember earlier this month when Nintendo and LEGO revealed a massive new Bowser set? At that time we all thought was a big Bowser, and to be fair, it was a foot tall, but now this one is even bigger. This massive Bowser is animatronic, isn't for sale. He's there as like a PR marketing piece at San Diego Comic-Con, but he is... Did not give the specs of it here, or is it a different... It might be a different article that gave how big... King size King of the Koopas is touching down at San Diego Comic-Con's massive 663,900 Lego bricks. And he weighs like 4 tons or something ridiculous as well. Like the other previous big Bowser was 2,000, and this one is close to 700,000. There's definitely one where it's like, this is how tall it ends up being and this is how heavy it was, but it must have been a different article. But yeah, he's like 14 foot tall or something fucking ridiculous. It is insane how big this Bowser is. It's a shame he doesn't actually breathe fire, but still, it's pretty nuts that it's made out of Lego and not just made to look like it's made out of Lego, but is actually made out of Lego. Is probably the more nuts part. That's a lot of Lego pieces. Right. Anyway, that was the news for the 18th to 24th of July 2022. Again, pretty quiet. A lot of games coming out, and this is kind of when you'll start seeing it in July, August, September. It's kind of the ramp up to school going back. This is when a lot of games come out for some reason, now that the kids don't have any time to play the games. I never got this. I think what really it is that it's like first or second quarter from tax reasons that a bunch of games all come out in and around this time, and then the same for Christmas. So around the October, November mark, you'll start seeing a bunch of games coming out then as well. And then February, March, that's when you'll see a bunch of games coming out. But in the middle of summer, fucking nothing comes out, which is really annoying. Because all of the tax years are winding up, I guess, and they're just starting out. So there's a good break in from like May, June, most of July that hardly anything comes out. Anyway, loads of games came out. Even more coming out next week and so on a week after that, and etc. John Riccatello having to walk back his comments, not surprising, and considering his track record, we probably shouldn't necessarily pay too much attention to what he has to say. FIFA is the same game over and over and over again, which we're already well aware of, but it's pretty funny when it is blatantly like that on the Switch. More QA teams trying to unionize. Good. More of this, please. It's kind of strange that it's always Activision. Always. Wonder what's so terrible that people felt, you know what, fuck it, let's unionize. Twice now. And then the PlayStation shutting down their support, not great. Their support in general isn't particularly good, and cutting off yet another avenue for it isn't a good look for them. But that was the news. What can we talk about coming up on the channel later? So, on the channel, we have our roadmap for the rest of the year. So we played Stray this week. So Stray is done, tick. we started Deliver Us the Moon. That's still in progress. We started Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is also now currently in progress, and continue playing Bayonetta, which again, still in progress. So, tomorrow I will be playing Man of Medan with Melvin, who's on occasionally on the channel. He drops in by the chat every now and then. So Man of Medan is the first entry in the Dark Pictures anthology. It is a kind of horror, choose your own adventure type of thing. It is from the same developers who did The Quarry and Until Dawn. There are 2 LPs of those games on the channel if you want to check those out as well. And I think I played a bit of Man of Medan as well on the channel before. So I have played the whole way through this game. I know it pretty well. Melvin, however, has not played the game ever. So they know nothing about the game, or nothing beyond like its PR and marketing stuff that you can't really avoid. So it'll be an interesting kind of co-op to play through. I've never played the game cooperatively, so that will be an interesting one for me. So we will be both streaming it on our channel, so if you want to see my point of view, watch my channel. If you want to see their point of view, watch on their channel. I will put the link when it goes up. When the stream is live, I will drop the link to their channel as well, so you can have a look over there if you feel like it. Still need to iron out technically how it works. I know Sony or PlayStation has some weirdness with voice chat on getting that to come across on the stream as well, so we'll need to figure that out, but hopefully everything will be fine. There will be 0 technical difficulties on the first time I try to do a collaborative stream. Definitely. That's how it works, right? That's how technology works when it knows you're not stressed. If technology ever knows you're stressed, it goes out of its way to fuck you over. That's all I've ever learned. Anyway, so that will be tomorrow, probably a little bit later, probably around 8 p.m. So about an hour later than I usually stream. We started Deliver Us the Moon, which is a walkie-talkie simulator thing where you are going to the moon to ostensibly to turn back on a power generator that was generating power for most of the planet. It had gone dark, and you not wanting to waste time with countries squabbling over, who's to blame, and getting a committee to think about getting a board together to consider the problem. You decided, well, fuck that, I'm just going to go up by myself. So you have a team, short team together. You've helped build a rocket. You've cobbled together some pieces to get you up to the moon, to try to turn the power back on, and also maybe find out what happened to your family because they were living up there. So yeah. As you might imagine, some shit has happened to the station, so you need to find out how to turn the station back on, what's happened to everybody, etc. It's a fun time, and we are currently playing through it, and we will be continuing that on Wednesday. Now, though, we need to flip a coin, so we need to decide what we are playing on Thursday. So is it going to be Bayonetta, which is what it has been for the last 2 weeks, or is it going to be a new game, which will be Batman Arkham Asylum, which we haven't got to play yet? It's been on, I've been threatening it for a while, but we haven't actually got to play it yet. So Bayonetta was last played, so the Bayonetta will be facing upwards for the coin flip. I've decided to do this as in Chrome, so you guys can't, give me shit for deliberately having Bayonetta come up. You can see that this is entirely the computer, you guys can see what's happening, so here we go. Alright, it's Batman. Okay, we will be starting Batman Arkham Asylum. That's loud. We will be starting Batman Arkham Asylum playthrough on Thursday. So it's been a while since I've played through the Batman games. I did want to try to get up to speed on it before Gotham Knights comes out and before Suicide Squad comes out. So yeah, I'll be looking to play through the whole series, maybe not Origins. Mostly because I'm not sure how I would be able to play it, because it's a PS3 game. I could play it through the PlayStation Plus streaming service, but I don't really want to. Plus, it's not that good a game. Compared to the other Batmans, I say this other times, but if the other Arkham games didn't exist, Arkham Origins would be a decent game. But they do, so it's not. But yeah, we'll be starting that on Thursday, some Batmans. And then no stream on Friday because I will have Dungeons & Dragons. But on Saturday, we started Xenoblade Chronicles 2 yesterday. And we will be continuing to play it for the next coming weeks for a good while. So you don't necessarily need to have played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or to have watched the stream, though I prefer if you had. You don't necessarily need to have played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 to know what's going on here. It is a self-contained story for the most part. There are some allusions to the original game, but not too many. Mostly it's just it plays very similarly, but otherwise they're separate things. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Anyway, we'll be continuing that on Saturday, and then we'll have wrapped right back around to the weekly news recap. So we will leave the cat game, I think, to loop. It already is. Cool. Let that go. So that's that. That was the news, and that is the channel update. I'm going to head off now and do some technical testing to make sure that I can stream correctly from the console, which we'll have to do so that we can get the voice chat of both players through. There are other ways to do it, but since Melwin streams directly from their console when they do PlayStation games, and I typically do capture card stuff, basically one of us has to do both. Both of us have to do the same thing for it to really work. So either we both stream from the console or we both don't stream from the console and do it through a capture card. And I think it's just easier if we both stream from the console. So I'll set that up and we'll figure it out. And we'll probably do a test later on to just make sure everything is good to go for tomorrow. So hopefully we'll see some of you there for a collaborative, my first collaborative cooperative stream with another streamer. So that will be fun. Plus I know the game pretty well. So, you know, hopefully I won't... Well, I'm not going to accidentally kill anybody. I might deliberately kill some people on it, but I won't be accidentally. Hopefully. Anyway, hopefully see some of you there for that. Or Wednesday for Deliver Us the Moon, Thursday for Batman Arkham Asylum, or Saturday for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Okay, I'm going to head off. You have a good rest of your day, and see you guys tomorrow, hopefully.